Under the agonizing fire of Shadow's ultimate attack, the thief was completely broken. He screamed for mercy and desperately begged to surrender. A system notification then asked Shadow if he wanted to accept this epic-grade NPC as a subordinate for his guild, to which he agreed. With his submission confirmed as a massive success, William Scott officially became a loyal member of the Shadow Guild, and his gear instantly swapped to a slick black ninja outfit branded with Shadow's guild crest. Suddenly, the bald guild leader ran down the hall stark naked, frantically shouting to ask what on earth was going on. Shadow casually explained that he had just made the thief his new subordinate, causing the bald leader to completely lose his mind and shout in disbelief. Soon, the rest of the players caught up and surrounded the shamed thief, who was curled up on the floor. They spat insults, calling the legendary thief saint a pathetic pickpocket and demanding their stolen gear back. When someone asked if they could just beat him to a pulp, Shadow stepped in and told them to calm down. He explained that since the thief was now a friendly NPC, they could spend their lifespan to buy rare goods and skills from him. Lu Jianfeng was immediately hooked. He barked at the crying thief, ordering him to show them his shop wares. William Scott pulled open his cloak, revealing some incredible items for sale. First up was the Thief Saint Talisman, which let you steal a random item from another player for 20 years of lifespan. However, the real prize was the Thieving Sacred Hand skill book. It cost a hefty 500 years of lifespan, but it permanently stole core stats from monsters. The crowd went wild when they looked closer. Lu Jianfeng screamed because his underwear and his precious heart of Bashu were pinned inside the cloak as display items. The naked players angrily demanded their clothes back, threatening to murder the poor thief. Once they calmed down, however, the bald leader and Lu Jianfeng realized the actual items for sale were incredible. The bald leader pointed out that while the talisman seemed niche then, it would be a jackpot maker in the late game. Plus, mastering the thieving skill meant a permanent stat boost, which was easily worth the 500-year price tag. Putting the pieces together, Lu Jianfeng finally realized that the thief must have drained all the intelligence stats from the dungeon's past victims, leaving them temporarily mindless. Eager for a power-up, the players decided to buy the skill book anyway. The system then registered both the Blue Cheongsam martial artist girl and Lu Jianfeng, spending 500 years each to learn the skill. Following this, a massive jackpot notification hit Shadow. His new subordinate had just pulled in 1,000 years of lifespan, and thanks to a 50% tax rate, he got a cool 500 years deposited straight into his guild pool. Shadow realized he could exploit this by sending the thief out to farm other players. Even better, since he got half his lifespan back as a rebate, learning the skill himself only cost 250 years. Wasting no time, Shadow spent 88 evolution points to upgrade the skill book to the mythic tier. The new Thieving Sacred Hand now stole 5 stats per target up to a limit of 3,000, added a massive 20% passive boost to all stats, and could be used on anyone. Shadow smiled, knowing a percentage-based stat boost would only get more overpowered as he leveled up. William Scott stared in shock at the glowing mythical energy radiating from Shadow's hand. He asked how Shadow had managed to master the ultimate mythic skill of the Starry Sky Thief clan. Without waiting for an answer, the thief slammed his forehead onto the stone floor over and over, declaring that he would follow Shadow forever and begging him to pass the skill down to him someday. Shadow calmly told him to get up, promising to teach him the skill if he behaved. Suddenly, the roof started violently caving in. The stone ceiling shattered and massive glowing chains and purple tentacles crashed down into the room. A booming voice echoed through the rubble, calling them all despicable humans. Emerging from the smoke was a giant, horrifying eyeball monster wrapped in glowing chains and tentacles. The beast roared, demanding they release William Scott immediately. William desperately tried to stop his friend, shouting that it had got it all wrong, but the monster didn't listen. Charging its massive eye, it fired a devastating petrification ray at the group, and Lu Jianfeng and the bald leader were instantly turned into solid stone statues. Unfazed, Shadow deployed his magic resistance shield, easily blocking the beam. The monster was confused, wondering how its ultimate attack had been stopped by a mere shield. Immediately after its attack, the giant eyeball monster's body started violently glitching with yellow electrical energy. The glowing chains wrapped around it tightened with agonizing force, causing it to scream in pain. William panicked and rushed toward the struggling beast, begging it not to use its power and crying that it couldn't die. Intrigued by how this dungeon had spawned 2 epic-grade NPCs, Shadow turned to the weeping thief and demanded an explanation. William revealed the eyeball monster's name was Aristotle, and she was his closest friend. Years ago, when he was just a low-level thief, he met her, and they quickly became best friends. Aristotle had vast cosmic knowledge and could find any rare treasure, while William used his god-tier theft skills to snatch them. Together, they gathered a mountain of legendary loot, which was how William earned his title as the Thief Saint. But then, their luck changed. One day, Aristotle detected a legendary, supreme treasure deep inside the Phantom Dungeon. Excited, they made their way into the ruins and stood before a massive, glowing chest. William generously told his friend that she should be the one to open it. But as soon as the lid started to rise, it wasn't gold that greeted them. Instead, blinding pillars of golden light and a barrage of massive chains erupted from the opening. Before they could react, the chains violently pierced Aristotle's body, trapping her in midair. The legendary chest was actually a terrifying primordial tier trap. Aristotle was instantly sealed inside the Phantom Dungeon, trapped by the inescapable chains of light. William revealed that breaking this primordial seal required an astounding 1 billion years of lifespan. To save his friend, he had stayed in the dungeon, robbing players to collect lifespan until Shadow's group arrived. He cried, explaining that Aristotle had forced her powers to save him, triggering the seal's lethal punishment and leaving her on the brink of death. He looked at his dying friend, realizing that now that he was bound to Shadow, he would never gather 1 billion years. The dreaded day of their final goodbye had officially arrived. The thief completely broke down, bawling as he repeatedly apologized to his oldest friend, screaming that he was so sorry for failing her. He cried his eyes out, apologizing to Big Eye and sobbing that he couldn't save her. He then noticed Shadow step forward and draw his glowing primordial sword. William was confused, asking his master what he was trying to do. He threw himself in front of the giant eyeball, asking if Shadow was trying to kill his friend and desperately trying to convince him that Big Eye wouldn't drop any good loot. William begged for mercy, but Shadow coldly ignored him and swung his sword. However, instead of attacking the monster, Shadow's strike shattered the chains holding the giant eyeball, shocking William. The chains broke and vanished, officially breaking the seal. William was stunned, wondering how Shadow had managed such a miracle. Shadow calmly explained that he had wanted to see if attacking the chains with a primordial-grade weapon would work, and it had. He noted that now that the seal was gone, she should be fine. Aristotle blinked, weakly calling out William's name. Overjoyed, William reassured his friend that everything was okay now. Looking at Shadow, Aristotle asked William how he had become a servant to a Blue Star human. William defended him, explaining that Shadow was no ordinary human. He was the one who had saved her. Seizing the moment, William hyped Shadow up, telling Big Eye she should join them because following him meant endless rare treasures. Aristotle told him to be quiet for a second so she could examine this human. Analyzing Shadow, she was blown away to find he was wearing the best gear possible, and almost all of his skills were mythic grade. She then realized something even crazier. This guy had the authority of ancient gods. Just then, the system notified Shadow that the epic grade NPC, Aristotle, wanted to join him voluntarily. Without hesitating, Shadow clicked yes. The system confirmed Aristotle was now a dedicated guild NPC. Her basic function was incredible, letting members claim a double EXP buff once a day, plus an advanced barrier. The system also unlocked her advanced function, allowing them to sacrifice lifespan to search for rare information. Sporting a new guild crest, she bowed to her master, ready for any command. Shadow agreed, praising them as top-tier talents. He immediately told Aristotle to give him the double EXP buff. Next, he ordered the two to teleport back to the guild base and farm lifespan. But before they went, Shadow told Aristotle to undo the petrification on the local players, and ordered William to return every item he had stolen. A flash of golden light completely unpetrified Lu Junfeng and the bald leader. The two jumped up shivering, looking for the giant eyeball monster. Shadow casually told them he had already tamed both creatures and sent them away. The two rivals were shocked, crying out that he had just captured 2 epic-grade NPCs at once. Pointing to the floor, Shadow told them their gear was right there. The naked players excitedly thanked him, with Lu Junfeng hilariously crying tears of joy over getting his limited edition underwear back. Grinning, Lu Junfeng happily presented his prized Heart of Bashu accessory to his savior. Looking at the weird spiked pink ball, Shadow stared back in disgust. Lu Junfeng explained that he and the bald leader had agreed that the Heart of Bashu belonged to Shadow, saying only a powerhouse like him was worthy of it. They begged him to wear it and become the king of Bashu. Unmoved, Shadow unleashed a massive shockwave and told them to get lost, sending the naked group flying. And just like that, the legendary Heart of Bashu was lost to the world, never to be seen again. Some said Bashu had no king now, while others said that from that day on, every player in the region became their own king. Meanwhile, over 200 kilometers south of the magic capital ruins, a fierce battle was happening. The target, a fast blue-lit creature, swirled and dodged an attack, but the attacker was Xiao Yu in her terrifying, red-skinned ghost spirit form, instantly appearing behind her target. Moving like lightning, she delivered a brutal slash, hitting the monster for over 18,000 damage. The beast swung back, but Xiao Yu easily dodged it. She quickly activated her shadow stealth skill to slip back into the darkness. The monster stood there confused. Xiao Yu noted she had been fighting this beast for over 20 minutes, and it was finally down to its last third of health. She thought that once she killed this monster, she would finally be able to solo farm emerald grade bosses. She admitted to herself that while the gap between her and her master was still huge, this victory would give her some real hope. From a ledge above, a group of male players with heart-shaped eyes was watching her fight. One of them noted that her skills were insanely good, staying just out of the boss's attack range while dealing steady damage. Another drooling player plotted that if they all rushed her at once, she wouldn't stand a chance, adding that the boss's health was already down to a third. One guy was even acting as a human chair for their blonde leader, telling his queen they were ready to jump in and steal the boss. The leader told him there was no need to rush, advising them to wait. She admitted their target was a top-tier hunter, whose attacks were clean and decisive. She warned that the girl was constantly on high alert and would vanish at the slightest disturbance. Right as Xiao Yu's outline appeared above the monster to strike, the leader smirked. She declared that the only time to catch her was the exact second she struck, activating a glowing red magic circle beneath them.